Hi everyone, welcome to Tantra Tuesday. Got a new location today. Was just in Calgary doing a Tantra speed dating and Tantra 101, which was so much fun. And now just taking a little break to relax in Canmore, Alberta. So you have a different view in the back of today's video. And one of the things that we chatted about in the Tantra 101 was idea about us as humans and how we are kind of split between these two fundamental energies. And if you've taken a Tantra workshop before, you've probably heard a little bit of talk about the masculine and the feminine energies. Hi, Leroy. So I want to talk about this for a couple of reasons. The first is that we get a little confused about these terms because we tend to associate them with male and female, which is inaccurate. And secondly, like any kind of typing system or a way to classify yourself, this is a model that is useful. It's useful to see where you are in your default, and then start to find ways to expand into areas that aren't your default. So let's back up a little bit. Hey, Sue, welcome. So what do I mean when I say masculine and feminine energies? Really, there are these two fundamental universal principles that act like the ingredients of the recipe that anything that we do. So just like when you're baking a cake, you need to add all of the appropriate ingredients and in the right amount. We need to add both our masculine and feminine energy to whatever we're doing, depending on what the moment calls for. So imagine right now what it feels like to have your energy in a very vertical, almost like a laser beam form. Just imagine yourself super focused in one direction and seeing immensely clearly in that direction. Not at all distracted by anything on either side. Completely and utterly focused with clarity and determination in one direction. You might have had a time like that in your life where you had a goal and you knew the steps to achieve that goal, and nothing was going to get in the way of that. In fact, you didn't even see anything in your environment that did not relate to that particular goal. I'm just describing our masculine energy. This is the part that allows us to accomplish things in our life. This is the part of us that creates new technologies and new buildings and new communities. This is the part that helps us to continue improving and evolving and growing and makes us great, both as individuals and as a culture. So letting go of that image, I want you to focus now on yourself as a radiating light that radiates out in all directions. It's a very diffuse kind of light. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't have a particular focus. It just kind of expands out into the environment, noticing every little thing that's there, but not focusing particularly on one. This light has a softer quality to it and a more inclusive quality. Now, the thing about this light is because it's going in all directions, there isn't necessarily a plan here. There isn't necessarily something that's going to be completed. So if you're this light in your everyday life, you might be aware of everything that's in your environment. You might be aware of all your feelings. You might feel very connected to yourself in the moment. But it might not be the place where you complete a deadline the fastest or where you're most efficient at completing a task. You may, however, feel a lot of connection towards other people. You might feel a lot of connection to nature when you're in this place. And I want to say, if you're doing something, like let's say you're out for a walk, you'd want to have access to both these energies, right? Because let's say you were only in your masculine energy, you might effectively find the path and plan out the correct route and execute it perfectly, but you might make it to the end of your walk and realize that you didn't really enjoy it. It was a very functional walk, but it didn't really enhance the quality of your life or the juiciness of your life. And then let's say that you were just in your feminine energy while you were going for this walk. You might never make it home. You might see a little piece of grass or a little animal and become so enthralled with it that you just followed it and you wandered completely off the path, and you end up in the middle of the forest as the sun goes down and you're not sure how to make your way home. So these two energies are the most essential parts of us, and we all have both. And this is the piece that we get a little bit confused, because sometimes we think masculine means male and feminine means female. But they're just parts of us. Just like they're parts of nature, just like they're parts of our culture and our cities. They're parts of us. And like a bird flying with one wing will be completely imbalanced and ineffective if we only have access to one of these energies. A way to know that you may be a little bit out of balance, maybe one energy is getting a lot more airtime than the other in your life, is if you find yourself stuck in doing mode. You aren't creating or carving out any time in your life to just be and just relax. That means that you might be focused a little bit too much on your masculine energy. This being and doing paradox is one of the dichotomies that Tantra helps us to balance out, because they're both so important. You know, just like when you're singing, when you're speaking, the words are conveying the meaning on the surface, but without the silence in between each one of the words wouldn't mean anything. They would carry no meaning and no value. So the silence between the words is equally important as the words. And if we get caught up in our life of accomplishing and being productive, we can sometimes get stuck on one setting of do. We're not taking any time to be. And the being is like that light that radiates out in all directions. It helps us to have new ideas because we can see so much. Our vantage point is so broad when we're in being mode. And I'm getting distracted by the comments here. Envious of the laser. Yes, right? If you're just in your feminine energy, the laser is like this incredible superpower, it feels like. And we've got Mr. Doing Mode, Chris. Yeah. Yes. Our society is pointing us towards doing mode right now, for sure. So really important to catch ourselves once in a while and say, okay, I'm going to have a minute of being. You can even set an alarm for yourself. You can work for half an hour or even an hour and then take 2 minutes to be. Start with 2 minutes. And you can lie down somewhere comfortable, or you can even just sit back in your chair. And for those 2 minutes, don't allow yourself to do anything that might be productive. Because anytime we're doing something productive, we're in the laser mode. And while that allows us to get the task done, it closes us off to some of the creativity and some of the intuition that comes out if we're expanded like this radiating light. This also comes up, this dichotomy in relationship. So in all of us, when we have a dream or a mission, or we want to accomplish something in the world, and we take steps towards that, we are harnessing our masculine energy. We're creating an identity for ourselves. An identity is so important because that's what gives our life variance and enjoyment. Imagine if all the cities looked exactly the same and there was no architecture that stood out, how boring our urban spaces would look. So each unique building that exists is the result of someone's masculine energy being focused. And in relationship, there's often this pulling in two directions. Am I going to preserve my own identity and who I am and focus on keeping myself walking in the path of my goals and my direction and my uniqueness? Or do I sort of become permeable and allow the us to take over my life? And if I go too far in that direction, I can lose myself. I can lose myself in the relationship and start to lose my sense of who I am as an individual. So if you're very comfortable in your feminine energy, if you tend to hang out there in an imbalanced way, then you might have noticed this in relationships, that it's very easy for you to lose yourself and just merge into that us field and forget what you like doing and forget the direction that you want to go, because you just get completely dissolved in this us field. On the other hand, if you tend to default towards a masculine imbalance, you might find that it's really hard for you to open up your life to your partner. You might find yourself rigid, that you need to stick to your routines and you need to stick to your plans, and you're not allowing any wiggle room to invite that other person into your life. The ideal way for us to be is to have access to both. So to know where our default is, and then find moments, find those junctures of decisions in your life where you could bring in the opposite a little bit. Bring in something that you wouldn't normally do. So if you find that you're someone who's very rigid and sticks to your schedule and you're in a new relationship, could you one morning take time to relax over breakfast and maybe not do your schedule that day? And if you're someone who just completely clears your calendar and sinks into the usness of a new relationship, then could you set a boundary with your partner and say, well, from 9 to 10, this is when I do my workout, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to come back to you after. And stretch yourself a little bit in the direction of your unfamiliarity. So I will leave you to ponder that. Thank you for being here. Really good to see you all tonight. And the LASER, acronym for LASER, is light amplification by emission of radiation. Wow. That sounds like a whole nother Facebook Live, Leroy. Gonna have to ponder that. All right. You're welcome, DJ. Thanks for being here. And enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.